world. Just waiting and seeing if anyone's coming in because this was unplanned. There's a lot been going on in this world, grief wise, in the past week, 2 weeks. Number one, they captured Ed and Ed the zebra here, not too far away from where I live, uh, 30 minutes from me or so. And y'all, I have been obsessed with Ed the zebra because there's certain parts of Ed that I can identify with, and that's just the wild and free part of him being the wild animal and people attempting to capture him and attempting to domesticate him. A zebra. Now, if a zebra was not bottle fed and not born in a zoo, then he is not to be domesticated, obviously. And Ed did as Ed was supposed to do. Or some people say Marty, because the zebra reminded them of Madagascar. So I'm glad that he was found safe, but I'm actually quite sad that he's not roaming like he normally is, because Ed found an open field, one, and he also found water. He did as God intended animals to do: find food and find water and find an open space to exist. Apparently, it's legal for people to own a zebra in Tennessee. Why? I don't know. As a pet, I don't know. Um, so there's been a lot happening in the world of grief, and I'm not trying to spoiler alert. If anybody has seen the movie Straw, the Tyler Perry movie with Taraji P Henson, hello, that movie. I believe it came out yesterday, if I'm not correct, because I saw it yesterday, and I'm normally not a movie watcher, so I'm not sure if it came out Straw on Netflix, if it was supposed to come out. Was Saturday the first day? I don't know. I don't want to be I don't want to be a spoiler alert, but if you have seen the movie Straw, I was seeing it yesterday or watching it kind of yesterday when I was getting my hair twisted. So if you have seen Straw, welcome in. If you have not seen Straw, do not listen. Do not listen. But I was having so many mixed emotions when watching Straw with Tyler Perry. Taraji P. Henson was in there. Tiana Taylor was in there. Sherry Shepherd was in there. Sinbad was in there. I was glad to see Sinbad working. Actually, was glad to see Taylor with a big role working. Sherry Shepherd looked much different than she normally looks. And then Taraji P. Henson is a really good actress, and I cannot take that away from her. But she is always stressed out in most of the roles that she plays. Majority of her roles she plays, she is always stressed out, and that stresses me out for her. She's a great actress, but she's always in some situation, and I'm like, what? Why is Taraji always playing a woman in distress? Like she's either yelling in a situation where she's been abused. In this situation, she was just basically a victim of circumstance, and it was a lot of trauma. So if you watched it and felt like very heavy at the end of it, because it ended the way the movie ended, it did not end in a happy story. It did not at all. So in For those of you who watch movies, a Tyler Perry movie, this was not a happy ending. And it had a lot of grief tones to it. It had medical trauma in it. It had child protective services in there. All of that. Thanks. Is it Carrie or Kari? Thank you. People come on live and they say anything. I don't know if they're bots or I don't know, but they come on here and they talk like they've never been raised or they were raised by wolves. So always have to make sure that I'm not paying really that much attention to them while I'm speaking because I'm not here for a long time. But thanks. Happy Sunday, you guys. I am Little Sister Chris, and you're a grief therapist. I'm a grief therapist by trade, but I'm also a surviving sibling. My brother died when I was younger. I keep this podcast. I talk about grief. I talk about my own grief journey. I talk about resources and tips. I also feature other people's stories on this podcast, healing stories. So coming up this week, I have a new episode with a new co-griever, which I'm excited about. And I'm also launching my website, thegriefspot.com. So I'm excited about that. And it's just been a lot of hard work and a lot of hard work. If you just got on, I was talking about the zebra. I was talking about the zebra here in Tennessee, which was located, the whole situation was located down the street from me. And I identify with that zebra so much. And I love that he's safe, but at the same time, it was sad that he was captured. He's like celebrity Ed here. So that's been cool. And then the other thing I was talking about was the movie Straw. And Straw has some grief elements in it. And it had people crying, it had people mad, it had the whole roller coaster of emotions for one character that kept just going through so much in the entire movie to the point where mental health wise, um, they were breaking, they were psychotic, really. And then it really showed the importance of Black women too, in how Black women support women because we understand what's happening here and the whole world doesn't quite understand. So there was so many systems being exposed in this one movie. So yeah, anyway. So then moving forward, in the news, we also had Nico McKnight in the Brian McKnight situation this past week. That was huge. Um, all right, so I removed somebody. I learned how to do that. So those of you who are here and who will listen later, I just removed this one person. Not gonna do that. Again, people get on these lives and they act like they've been raised by wolves. Like, who raised you? Like, who would you randomly walk up to someone and call them stupid? And first of all, they spelled stupid wrong, so I know it's probably a bot. But if you can really know that I'm a therapist and I work with people and I'm a licensed therapist, so can't be too much stupid, and I get the student loans to prove it. Can't be too much stupid on this thing here. And I ain't the one, and I'm also very much a child of God. So yeah. Hi, I got somebody in who's speaking to me in Spanish. Hi. All right. Welcome in. So So you guys who are in Mexico City, hello, from Mexico City. This is Little Sister Chris and your grief therapist. And so I am talking about McKnight, and I grew up with Brian McKnight. I grew up with his music. I loved Brian McKnight growing up. He just had some of the best music in the '90s, and it was like super like one of those things where you know that R&B is running out of style or running and going in a different direction. And he was truly a lyricist, and I really, really enjoyed watching Brian McKnight over the years. But recently we've had some issues, and we saw that Brian McKnight does not get along with his children, or estranged from all five of his children, who are super grown. They are super grown. And Nico was 32 years old and estranged from Brian McKnight and died last week from colon cancer at a young age. And that's super scary. And people were thinking Brian had not said anything about his son Nico because he was estranged from his children. Even one of his daughters had sued him for defamation, and they settled out of court. This was a few years ago. But Nico apparently had written, from what I've seen, Nico had written about he misses his dad and he misses his family. Apparently at one time they were very much a close family knit. But I don't know when it was where Nico's mom and Brian McKnight had divorced. I don't know when that was, when that timeline was. But what happened was Nico got sick and was estranged. And so he wrote to, I guess it was on his Twitter, and he was talking about just if he could give anything to have a group hug with his parents and his siblings being there, then he would do it. Like, that's just like really reaching out because he was sick at the time and he almost died. And this was a year ago or so, and he was just wanting to have his dad. So his dad had actually moved on. He got married, he got remarried to a woman, and he is now living in Maui in Hawaii. Got married and had another child. And in that marriage, the wife already had children. And so Brian said that his children were I guess products of um, sin. Is that what he was saying? They were products of sin, and he was tired of them basically and all of their problems, but they were products of sin. And his new life was the life that he chose. So he chose his child, and he chose his wife's children, her previous children. So what they were saying was, um, what they were saying was that the child that he had with his new wife, that um, that new wife, he named them Junior, Brian Junior, where he already had someone, he already had a child named Brian Junior, and so he named the new child Brian Junior, which is crazy. So he speaks on his new child and the children, and he claims them as the kids that he loves, the kids that he never had, and he has now four living children, previous marriage. So there's a lot of grief tones in here, and I, if these family lived in the area where I practice, I would love to be able to talk to them and their grief of their sibling, and then the grief that they've had with their dad. They may have more resolve with their dad. I'm not sure because the other kids don't talk. The other grown kids do not talk. But I would love to be able to talk with this family about their grief, the grief of a son, and then the grief of their sibling, and then the whole estrangement grief around all of that. But rest in peace to Nico McKnight, who recently died as a young man. So, again, this is Little Sister Chris and your grief therapist. I just wanted to hop on really quickly to let you guys know that more is coming from the Grip Spot podcast, GRIP, which means grieve in peace, while picking up the pieces. And this is the month of June. So I'll be featuring some new healing stories and having you all, if you are interested, and the website will be live this weekend, this coming up weekend, so you can download something free. So I'm excited about that. You have to be listening in order to download that. I'm also going into some really new stories. A story of my kidnapping. Yes, I had a story of kidnapping law. It's stupid. It's like really stupid. And I didn't want to go into this story at all. I did not want to go into this story because people who know me know who I'm talking about, but I really want to be able to talk about the feelings that I have around being a surviving sibling and healing, because I am my parents' only surviving child, and I was in a situation almost 2 years ago that just was super disappointing. Was kidnapped by somebody I know, and I'll tell you guys about that coming up in the new season, in the summer season. So join the family, join the Grip Spot family, where this is about grief and loss and resources, healing stories, my journey, Black grief, people of color grief, just grief in general. But we break it down here with really live stories. Real, I'm being honest with you as much as possible. That I don't sugarcoat this life of grief. I don't. I don't play with it. It's my life's purpose, especially with me being. I was very young when my brother died, and being a 14-year-old and growing up in this world without my companion, my first best friend, has been the hardest life. I feel that I'm privileged that I got to have him for the 14 years that I have him in physical, but would have really liked to know what he was like as a 46-year-old man. That would have been great. And I am, of course, godmother or TT to other children, but my brother did not have any kids, and so I never will know what that's like to see my nieces and nephew, come into my house. I will never know what that's like. And just the pressures of my parents also getting older and what that's going to look like in the future. I just don't know. There's so many still unknowns. So although it's been 28 years, I am still a griever. So thanks for joining in. This was like just a quick something. Hoping that your week goes very well. I am the owner of an agency called the Grief Center, and I am I have clients of all ages. I have therapists that I employ, and I also teach about grief. I do consultations, and if you're, oops, sorry, if you're a therapist out there, let me know if you would like to join. Thank you. Bye.